Fridays wouldn't be Fridays unless we had Madonna guy here from New Leaf Natural Therapies. Madonna, how are you?
I'm really well.
You look tops, actually.
Oh, thank you very much.
So many people complaining about the sniffles, the bugs, the colds. In fact, I was just chatting to someone in the office, and they said they've had a cold for nearly 3 weeks.
Yeah. And yes.
The ECHA's coming up.
It is.
That's part and parcel.
How many people get sick when they go to the ECHA?
Or do they think of it? Do they psychologically bring it about that they feel sick? I don't know what it is.
There's a lot of humans, there's a lot of hands, there's a lot of, there's a lot of
kids running around at the ECHA. The remedy is you don't go to the ECHA.
We never got sick going to the ECHAs. My boys always got nits.
I beg your pardon.
Well, 1 million kids racing round at all the same height. Every year we went, so we stopped going after 4 years because that just became a pain in the butt. I thought, that is ridiculous.
Nit treatment, how do you treat nits? How do you treat it? Because it's so common with kids at primary school.
Yeah, so from the natural perspective, even things like using, and I know it sounds boring and cheap and easy, but using stuff like olive oil in the hair, just sort of soaking the scalp and then sort of, because that smothers. It does. And it actually allows and it's awful, but it allows the eggs to come off the hair shafts quite easily.
I've never had them.
Haven't you?
No, I've had lots of
them. I was grade 6 the first time I had them, and my hair was so long I could sit on it. And overnight, I got it chopped up to my ears and,
How many tears?
Oh, it was awful. I went to school the next day, and there's nothing worse than having an embarrassing reason like that.
And the girls would say, what have you done to your hair?
Yeah, it wasn't very nice. I loved my hair.
I like shorter hair on women, mature women. I like short hair. Long hair looks great on young ladies. But, the short hair, your length, shoulder length, perfect.
Yeah.
How is Mr. Guy?
He's very, very well. Actually, speaking of being sick, he got his first ever sinus infection this week, which was interesting. We were out to dinner with some friends on Friday night, and we actually had that age-old argument, does cold weather make you sick? And I sort of said, well, it's a bug that makes you sick. It's a virus. It's a bacteria. It's, and so then I was actually curious. So throughout the week I did a little bit of Googling, and I did find a study, and I can't remember which university hospital, but somewhere they genetically modified a rhinovirus, which is one of the key bugs that gives us the common cold. And they basically then did some tests, and they found that cold weather, that particular rhinovirus, is more likely to be able to take hold in your sinuses.
And that's where it starts, most colds, and gets down to your throat and then...
Well, yeah, our body has all these defence mechanisms, of course. So this is the problem, is that when we breathe in, we've got lots of little hair follicles in our nasal passages. We've got lymph nodes all over the place.
The size of my nose, I'm amazed I don't get more colds. I should be permanently...
Or you have a fantastic, or you're the opposite. You have a fantastic ability to, don't chop out their nose. Yeah, so next time you go to the hairdressers and they say, would you like me to trim their nostril hairs? Say no. Sorry. Anyway, so so basically they actually did find that cold weather weakens your immune response.
So then
you're more likely to be able to get a bug or a virus or something, next time you come in contact with them. But it still comes down to our immunity. So I suppose that's where natural therapists differ. I sort of always think when someone, a lot of the time people ring up and they say, I can't come in today, I've got a cold. And especially me, my rest of the team is all fairly hardy. But I know I just don't get sick. I could have the sickest person on my table and, I know for me, my immune system's very strong.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was at the dentist, my dentist, good mate, good golfer, and he was doing root canal work, and one of his assistants came in and said, Mrs. So-and-so, she can't come in end of next week because she has a cold.
Yeah.
And as Ken said, he said, she knows she's going to have the cold at the end of next week. She probably wouldn't, but... people plan ahead, and look, a cold can be gone in 3-4 days.
Yeah, but the average is 6 to 10 days.
Oh, well,
so that's sort of the average. And some people know that they're not going to recover very well. So it was interesting with Jay's sinuses. He sort of, when we went to Thailand just after September 11, so whenever that was.
Nice time to travel.
2001, 2002, whenever it was, we went to Thailand, and we did the old scuba diving training in the pool. He got an ear infection, which of course has lasted like 10 years. So every so often it plays up and we go, oh, okay, so we do some stuff for it. Anyway, so I sort of suspect that this is something, because of this sinus infection, it might have been just something hanging around since then because, absolutely. Because these infections can stay in that mucous membrane, in the biofilm, in the sinus cavity and in the inner ear and all of that sort of area. Like we've got mucus that holds these old infections. Absolutely.
Well, I was fine going in the surf, good salt water, which I was down the coast the other day because the weather is beautiful on the beach. And
did you go in the water?
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh, really?
It really was. Initially, it was a bit of a shock.
Well, you've just got back from Belgium, so everywhere seems
yes.
not so freezing at the moment.
I have swum there, but I certainly wouldn't go. I wouldn't walk across the road to swim there. Actually. But that always clears out my sinuses.
Yeah.
That first little dip under the water.
Yeah, and you can actually buy, of course, saline solutions, things like Fess, that help to flush the sinuses. And there's also a product we've got called NasoClear, which has some essential oils added. So it's like Fess, so it's like the saline solution, but then it's got essential oils that help to break down fungus, bacteria, candida in the nasal passages as well.
A blocked up nose due to a cold, you got a choice of two things.
And that's just
Madonna, or straight down the beach.
Yeah.
Regardless of how cold it is.
Well, absolutely. And being dumped under the waves and accidentally snorting some salt water, not the worst thing for you.
Clears you right out. What else is happening in your world of New Leaf Natural Therapy?
Actually, on Wednesday we've got a new practitioner coming back. People might remember her because she was at our clinic 4 to 8 years ago as well, and
Does she do massages?
She does. So she's a musculo-skeletal therapist.
I will be there.
Her name's Katherine Lynn, and she started her little journey about probably 12, 13, 14 years ago when she started doing chiropractic. And she did the first year and a half expecting to do some muscle testing because her chiropractor did a little bit of, kinesiology to work out what bones were out and that sort of thing. And by the time she got 18 months in, she realised that she wasn't going to learn kinesiology. So then she swapped over to musculo-skeletal therapy, thinking, well, this will be where I'm going to learn my kinesiology. So she did the 3-year degree, still no muscle testing. So then that's when we met her, which was, 2009 or something like that. And she worked with us for 4 years while she did her diploma of kinesiology as well.
Clever girl.
And then she's gone on to become a yoga instructor. So she's a musculoskeletal therapist, yoga instructor, kinesiologist. She's really quite, and it was funny, and she'll probably laugh even remembering that I remember this. Some people think things at a time and then down the track they think, really? That's what I thought? I remember the day I met her and she said, I'll never be doing any emotional or spiritual work. I don't believe in it. And of course, when people say that to me and I know they're coming to work in my clinic, I don't say anything because I think, well, that's not true, but you don't know it's not true at this point.
What's down the road?
So sure enough, she loves her spiritual treatments with people and she loves doing weird stuff like past life healings. And so now she gets into the weirdest of the weird stuff. So it's very exciting. Kat's back on Wednesdays.
It's Katherine Lynn.
Katherine Lynn, yeah.
If you'd like to make an appointment, well, the people to see New Leaf Natural Therapies at 94 Edith Street, Wynnum. And the telephone number off the top of my head is, yes, I'm reading it, 33486098, 33486098. So, Katherine Lynn, welcome aboard. And if you do have any concerns about aches and pains and whatever,
yes,
kinesiology, massages, they're the people to see, New Leaf Natural Therapies.
Yeah. And actually another little change that's happened, and I need to change my ad actually, is that we've got a new reception team member as well. Now, so Annette actually left to run the clinic at Metagenics. So she's now, so Metagenics is on the north side. They actually develop a lot of healthcare products. So she's now on the north side of Brisbane running a clinic, which is fantastic. And so we've replaced her with a lady called Sanu. So when you ring up, it will be Lynn or Sanu answering the phone. And Sanu has these extra skills as well. She sort of does a Reiki energetic treatment as well, which is quite bizarre and interesting too.
You have a queue of men outside your store.
It's sort of funny, who you end up attracting to the clinic.
Well, I've got to come back and do a follow-up on...
yes.
Yeah. my blood
Yes.
reading and so forth, and see if I've improved.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but there was room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I like. The thing that I like about our testing is that, and I've said before, it is great when you go and get a bunch of tests from the doctor and nothing shows up, because that means you're not at the disease state yet. Doctors are looking for disease. So really, when you come in and you've spent a whole bunch of money and it doesn't show anything, that's a good sign. You really don't want them to find things, because if they're finding things, that's...
Why is it that I'm more concerned going to a dentist and have more fear going to a dentist than a doctor? Because 9 times out of 10, a doctor can tell you worse things than a dentist.
Oh, but you know you're going to get a needle when you go to the dentist.
but
I totally understand that fear.
Don't you love it when the dentist probes and pushes and does that hurt? And you say no, and he'll keep going until you jump.
Oh, I give myself fingernail marks every time I go to the dentist. I lie there and I try to relax, and a minute later
I prefer that we all have no teeth and go on liquid diets. That's a lot better.
That's funny.
But nearly natural therapies, what do you go through there? Now, you've got the poly scan?
The oligo scan, so that's the one that shows the minerals and heavy metal sort of levels in the body. And the reason that's important is that it gives us a sign of how your detox organs are going. So if your gut, your liver, your kidneys, your immune system aren't keeping up, you're going to end up with heavy metal toxicity. So it's a sign that your detox organs aren't working, which means it's hard to make cellular energy. It's hard to regenerate your organs. It's hard for your muscles to get good nerve and blood supply.
You start drawing up the plan to improve.
Absolutely, that's our aim.
And it's not a quick process.
It really isn't. I remember when I found that I had mercury toxicity, and I'm talking 10, 12 years ago, and I used a different test at the time. And it took me probably a good 3 or 4 years of different treatments to get to a level where that was more normal in the body than high. And I've got no idea why. I've always had a lot of amalgam fillings in my teeth, so that might have been part of the problem. And also, there's a lot of mercury in our atmosphere. So unfortunately, living in the world these days has heavy metals.
Tell me, how is mercury in the atmosphere? Now, I can understand where it's in water courses and
power plants actually release mercury. So it's one of the byproducts of...
Little minute particles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had heard there's like 25 of them in Queensland, power plants. So, they're big.
And they're all expensive.
Yeah, so they are.
You've got to do something
that's
about
a whole,
that. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to come back. I was going to say, I was amazed when I go to my doctor and have a blood test done. Remember we went through this about 6 months ago, and they came up with a cholesterol level of 3.8 or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was under 3, I've forgotten. And then I went along to your clinic.
Yeah.
And although with a doctor you've got to wait 3-4 days to get the results back, at your clinic it came in precisely the same number instantly.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's all available at New Leaf Natural Therapies. We'll be back right after this.